Hello YouTube. So welcome to another sunny midday here in Switzerland. And today I'd like to talk about another flake that I mentioned last time that I probably would, and several people said you should, which is St. James flake from Sam Garwith. Which is quite a legendary flake, and if you look in tobacco reviews, there's a lot of reviews there and a number on YouTube. That's what it looks like. So that's not really a broken or slightly broken flake, I would say. Not like the Solani, which was in perfect slices, but still sort of 1.5 of those is a bowl. I looked at the moisture content. I left the lid off and had it in my cellar, which is, as I said, about 65% relative humidity, and had reduced it a bit, but not put the hygrometer on top of the tobacco in the tin with a little bit of muslin cloth in between, and it was about nearly around 80, so I've just left it out for 20 minutes here to dry out a bit further, and now it's about 70, which is bang in the ideal moisture zone. It's getting a little bit crispy on the outside, but there's a lot of moisture on the inside of these flakes, so it takes a little bit of drying. Lit okay, but if you leave it, it'll go out. My usual fold and rough up and stuff method, but that seems to work pretty good. Listening to a little bit of Debussy here. I'll put a link down below, but you see these lovely scenes that he brings with the music. It's on my playlist for chill out music. Well, this is really an excellent flake, I must say. So I opened the tin. My wife gave it a sniff and said it's apricots. Often you hear about plum or figs with perique, of course, but I think apricot is a good description in this particular case. Note of sweetness in the tin note, and the room note is okay, pleasant. That's in the smoke note, basically, because I'm not smoking in the house, but my wife gave the smoke a sniff and said it's all right, but it's, you know, there are better ones in terms of that aroma. But the apricot in the tin note was a nice, if you like, heralding of better things when I would light up. Moisture I've addressed. It was basically probably really on the moist side, so open the tin overnight and leave it in a cool, dark place and it'll dry out a bit. It's always relative, of course, so if you leave it out in the dry air or in the sun, you know, it's going to be less controllable. I'd rather slowly dry it out than too harshly. But it was almost right this morning, and then just about 20 minutes or so, I think has got it about right now. Virginia, of course, and Perique. Classic vapor, a legendary vapor, this one. Some say it has a case. Tobacco Reviews says there's no topping or case on it, but being Garworth and Lakeland, one thinks it must have a little bit of that. But I'm detecting barely a floral note to it, if there is one. So it's in this particular case, I think, not too heavy. But I quite like that Lakeland floral. It doesn't bother me in the least, but I know some people really don't like it. So, not the most orderly cut, as I've mentioned, but you know, makes it nice and friable when you're actually folding it and stuffing it, so it's fine. So we come to the taste. What I like about this is it's really got a strong sweetness, you know. With the Solani, it was much more subtle, that sort of light honey tea. Very nice, but here it's really there, you know. And a kind of, certainly that spicy, a little bit peppery, but it's an interesting spice sweet combination. I think perfectly balanced. There's a bit of fermented fruit. Very, very good. Really like this. Really like this. I was hoping I would. So it's certainly not a Perique bomb, I don't think, but it's really solid. You're getting that sort of nice spicy. I don't know if you would call that, some people say peppery. It's almost like a paprika touch to it in the sweetness, which, so it's not sweet and sour, it's sweet and spicy, you know, but it's very appealing. You know, sometimes you get a blend and you find your mouth waters enjoying it, and this is one of those. Medium nicotine, but no adverse effects from me, so it's not. And that's another advantage of Flake, that it's the slower burn and slower release of the nicotine. Now, I must have, last night, 2.5 bowls or so I smoked of this one, and a bowl the day before. And you do occasionally have to relight, but it's not, you know, it's not more than there's some other blends, and often because I put it down and ignored it or not tamped it vigorously. The honour today is a Ben Wade Garrick pipe, which you've seen before, which is a lovely large bowl pipe, and I think it actually proves you can smoke a Flake in any pipe, really. Some people say this taller chimney is better because the flakes stand up, and I think others like the flake pan, which is more shallow and open, but it's smoking very well in this pipe for sure. The only thing I've noticed with some flakes is when you get very low in the bowl, can be a little bit tricky to reignite it when it's in a deeper bowl. From then, a shallower pipe could be easier if you want to take it all the way, but very many of the blends I smoke, I sacrifice a little bit, the last 10%, because of the ash. I've tried tapping out the ash and refilling. You can do that, but usually the tobacco, the last 10% is maybe lost a lot of the flavour, and you know, I'm not really sacrificing that much, but that's just my personal take on smoking most tobaccos, that I tend to sacrifice with the ash about 10% of the tobacco. 5 or 10%, it depends. In terms of like, what is this one like? You know, you've seen the flakes I've smoked, so I have so little experience there, but I'll tell you what others say that it's like is the Escudo or Navy Deluxe, for example. Navy Deluxe or Dunhill. Any of those two. Samuel Garwith Best Brown. Some say maybe the Solani 633, but for me this is quite distinct. This is much stronger in its sweetness. Or Sam Garwith Full Virginia Flake. I switched over now to some Dahlias. Frederick Dahlias. Beautiful music. So the identity of this flake, when would you like to enjoy it, or when it's best enjoyed? Some people said because it's a sort of wake-up medium nick the morning. For me, this is clearly after dinner or after lunch, maybe, as you've enjoyed a nice meal and you want something sweet, you know, but maybe you don't want to have a dessert. Enjoyed it immensely yesterday evening with some good bourbon. I don't know if you know Old Scout bourbon. Very good one, not too expensive. West Virginia, I believe. But as a drink, you could also have coffee. Right now I'm having some green tea, iced tea, 0 calorie. But I can see this is going to be one of my favourite flakes. There's some other reviews out there, of course. Stuff and Things, Bradley does a lovely one. Beans 316 has got one. New England Pipe Smoker has got a review out there. There's a few others. A few comments of people that are just trying it, not really reviewing it. Grandpa Cavendish. All reviewers usually enjoy it, and Tobacco Reviews gave it a 3.4. I'm going to increase that in my score to 3.8. 3.8. That's the highest score I've given anything so far. I always leave a little bit of reserve for the one where I think if I die and go to heaven I want that one, then I would give it a 4. It's a beautiful one, really lovely. Recommend it to anybody. I think it should be in anyone's collection, provided you have no aversity to flakes or for Perique, or the moisture of a Garwith blend. Now here's an interesting thing. I was rummaging around in my collection, which I have to somehow organise that I can find things more easily, because they're stacked up and packed in this tower rack that I have. And I've probably 2/3 of it I've got in a nice spreadsheet, but it doesn't tell me where it is in the rack. Well, I was thinking about you know, aromatic flakes, and some of the ones we've discussed have light toppings or casings or some rum in there, like this one. So I found 3 more flakes I didn't know I had. After Hours flake, Cornell and Deal, which has got some lovely Caribbean rum in it. Exotic spice liqueur of the island's dark rum. Caramelly is what they say. So that could be a good one. It's got some good reviews on that. Then I've got a Christmas flake. Yes, I think Dale Piper, didn't he review this? I don't know. Kringle flake from Sutliff. They don't offer it the whole year. I think it's usually quickly gone. Red Virginia flake. I think it's got one of those sort of holiday sort of sweet spice toppings, but this one I'll open nearer to the appropriate time. And I don't know if Tillerman watches my videos. Tillerman, which is an interesting one because this really has chocolate and cocoa beans and all kinds of things in the description. This is from HU, which I know my good friend John Panzer likes very much, their tobaccos. And I thought I haven't really gone for a real full-blooded aromatic flake yet up to this point. So I think I will try this one in the next review. Well, I think today I'll keep it a little bit shorter. My videos have been maybe a little bit on the long side. So I hope you've all enjoyed your Easter and Easter Monday today, that you have a lovely restful time and enjoy it, and that you're getting good weather, and that above all your health is good. And I shall talk to you probably day after tomorrow maybe, to tell you about what I think of Tillerman, the full aromatic flake. Take care everyone. Bye bye.